Hey guys, VaulSC here, how you going? And welcome back to my coverage of the Soldiers of Fortune ITS event that I was at last weekend with my vanilla Aleph and of course my hired mercenaries, since you're allowed up to 75 mercenaries, 75 points worth of mercenaries for this variant of ITS. Game 1 was a blowout, managed to win 10 victory points, major victory, and now we're up against Varuna for the second round. And my opponent for this one is Thomas. He's a guy that I've been looking forward to play. Haven't played him before. He's one of Wellington's best players. Didn't do too well, so he's inconsistent at the last tournament, but other tournaments has fared pretty well. So Varuna. My opponent's list is a Kamau multi-sniper, obviously, you know, in the Fusilier Link team. He's chucked in one light grenade launcher in there as well, and you'll see what he likes to do with that. All the Zulu Cobras with jammers, fine, you know, the strongest thing at the moment. You know, you've got the assault pistol with them as well. It's a really sickening profile, sensor and everything. Couple of Crocmen in there, and you want them for hunting party. Crocmen are going to be great because they're going to be in marker state most of the time and can go back into marker state. It's quite hard to hunt them down and make very reliable specialists. Evo Repeater, probably going to be back at the army, but he's probably put the Evo in there because he's planning on using it for missions like Tic-Tac-Toe as well, which we saw earlier. All of the Helots with light rocket launchers, we know that they're busted. They are too cheap for what they do, and it's kind of sickening. You can take all three of them and attack B. Now, I don't know if this is the exact list. I think some of the profiles are different, and the order, you know, the grouping, you know, the order pools are definitely different, but this is roughly what we're up against. My criticism of this list is that it really is too defensive. You know, as soon as you have people dropping behind your lines and bashing you up, you kind of crumble a little bit, but as soon as your opponent also sits back and waits and hides in total cover, the best you can really do is maybe walk over there and proactively try and jam them. Against a lot of Crack-Out Renegades, Yato Troopers, that kind of thing, the jammers are not going to be very useful. And once that Kamau multi-sniper goes down to some HMG, defending's not that easy. The Helots, yes, they're nice with neurocynetics, but they have to get lucky. Most people are just going to bash them up and outrange them and outshoot them with ballistic skill. But for a mission like Hunting Party, I can see why you run this kind of list, because the Zulu Cobras can actually use their jammers to break you out of marker state and isolate you, and that counts for scoring if you're a specialist. So that's a great way of cracking their lieutenants or their normal specialists, because you do it at range and without line of sight. And this is another reason why I criticize Corvus Belli for making this mission Hunting Party, because it favors the factions that have this kind of tech and is really harsh to other factions that don't have the ability to do this. So you can imagine somebody really doing well to hide their lieutenant somewhere, and some pleb comes up with a jammer and just hits you and scores 4 objective points. Not very nice. So going to the game, I'm going to be running my Hunting Party list, which I talked to you guys about earlier, and this is the one with McMurray, Yojimbo, and the Posthuman Sniper. Just taking an initial photo of my hidden deployment. There's a Posthuman Sniper on the building prone here, overlooking the center of the table. We're going to see later that there's actually a Kamau sniper up there, up at this spot. Just bear that in mind, but that's why I'm not going to reveal until much later. I've got my Dazyu Killer Hacker far to the left-hand side. This is on the left-hand side of the table from me, and just deployed behind here. Note that I am going to be going second for this mission. I managed to get the opportunity to do that. And going second is really important for pressing the buttons at the end. And this is great for me because I know that Varuna is not going to be very aggressive. I can just really wait and camp until that last turn and just hold on for a bit, and then go and press the buttons and maybe pick up some specialists, who knows. Also have to avoid the jammers, but I do have a couple of Crack-Out Renegades for that as well. So my defensive setup back here, this is the Lieutenant. So we'll just find that here. Lieutenant there, sorry about the lighting. Evo Repeater here. We've got the Sophitect nearby. She can maybe move over and take him out of isolated state if really needed. Flashball spot over here. Then in front of them there's another little line. So we've got the Naga boarding shotgun assault mine layer. There's another mine to the other side of that building there. Crack-Out hanging out on the stairs, and the Mark V Posthuman with double SMGs there. Not really happy with this color. Let's just go back to pink since pink's really nice and visible. Yep, cool. So that's the mid zone. Again, we're really struggling with the morning lighting of this event, with light streaming through the curtains. So that was the Renegade here. This is the boarding shotgun Naga, and this is the mine out in the midfield in the street. We've landed a couple of net rods around the battlefield. Note that the Dazu killer hackers in hidden deployment there, ready to spring onto this objective here. And then that was our post-human and Krakot, as we just talked about. Looking around the back, this is my extreme right-hand side deployment zone. We've got this Krakot here. We've got baggage spot, flashball spot, just guarding the back lines in case he's got one of those Echo Bravos. Yojimbo right at the back here, and Yojimbo's positioning is really good for having his crazy koalas nearby just to cover off this zone from people wanting to drop in back line, try and get to my cheerleaders, so that's really shut off to them. Note 2, in fact, I probably should have drawn that. This is the position of the post-human sniper, just FYI. There's Jimbo at the back, and my HVT next to this building to the extreme left-hand side of the battlefield. Going to my opponent's deployment zone, this is the interior of a building that is in his deployment zone where he's just deployed 4 of the old-school Fusiliers. One of them is a light grenade launcher, and 3 basic plebs with a lieutenant, and the Camel is going to be above them on the building roof. Evo repeater right at the back, and Dromadoc here. So this is the easier of the specialists to hunt down, but they are guarded in this building, so it's going to be tough. Deploying a lot of camo markers around. We know that some of them are going to be Zulu Cobras, some of them are going to be Helots. He has opted not to use a lot of decoys, and I think that's not a bad idea, because you start to cluster up the battlefield, and if you're planning on revealing a really obvious decoy anyway, sometimes it could be better to just be in camouflage state, marker state. And then HVT nearby for him as well. Tech B right at the back line here, back of the deployment zone. More of the camo markers around his left-hand flank. We know that they're either Zulus or Helots, as I mentioned. A bit of a zoom out now, so let's just take a look at that. So here's the link team inside the building. There is a Helot at the back. There is a Tech B over here. This is a jammer. This is, I believe, a Helot. I can't 100% remember, but there's definitely a Zulu here and another Helot over here. And there'll be a couple of guys on the roof as well. So again, my deployment zone, the post-human snipers up there. Most of my troops are sort of just behind these buildings way at the back. Very interesting and colourful table, I'm sure you guys will agree. Reserve trooper is McMurray himself behind this main building here, just as far up as he can be. Doesn't really mind about his, his positioning here, because I know that my opponent is not going to be that aggressive. And if they come around with something like a bulleteer, I can just throw smoke grenade. Can they take bulleteers? They certainly can. Okay, so yeah, if there was a bulleteer, smoke grenade down here to protect. All right. On the rooftops, we've got the Kamau sniper, and he's going to go prone here behind this box, just so he can shift up there with the rest of the team. And yeah, that's actually his positioning. And you can also see in the background of that photo the jammer. So there's just so many jammers across the table. It's very, very difficult army to defend. And you'll notice a net rod has actually floated over and landed there from my missed deployment. It's scattered, so that'll be quite an easy one for him to shoot point blank range. So the game begins, stripping a couple of orders from Group 1 with my command token, and the Fusiliers move out now just to take up better positions in the building. So there they are, Fusilier taking up the front there. I briefly considered firing at his Kamau with my post-human sniper while it was not the link leader, because then I get a free shot. But the thing is, I'm hitting on a 10 or less, and if I do hit him and don't wipe him out completely, his doctor might actually just revive the Kamau, then I get killed, and it's just a bit of a waste. What he's attempting to do is lob a Specfire, a light grenade down and hit this position here, because then it's going to radius out to these two models. Luckily for me, Specfire is quite hard to pull off, and the Krakot and the Posthuman have decent physical skills and are able to survive for the most part against this barrage, although I believe the Posthuman takes a wound. After fluttering around for a bit and wasting a few orders on that, he then moves up with his Zulu Cobra, and over here as well, coordinating them, I believe. And importantly, the front one is going to get towards the front of this building, where it has the most range, most radius possible, while the long range is defended by our boy here, the Kamau multi-sniper on the rooftop standing up. So this photo is indicating the objective on his left-hand side, on my right-hand side, and that's the mine in the midfield. You can see McMurray over there, and he's moving in with his jammer, and he wants to get it in there because he knows that I'm going to have to come around this truck or around this side to get to the objective. Now, luckily, I've got a couple of tools here. I've got McMurray and Yojimbo who have martial arts, and I also have the Krakots who have veterans. So it's always good to take some tools like this. And honestly, guys, if you're a new player and you don't really understand, maybe look up what jammers do and talk to some people about it, because jammers really are, in my opinion, kind of ruining the game a bit and ruining the meta. And one thing Corvus Belli's had to start doing is just bringing in more and more stuff that can ignore it. But I feel like that's not the ultimate sort of fix to this kind of thing. Okay, so there it is, just tucked in there, ready to use this jammer. And then we've got another one coming around here and just setting up there. That's going to be the Helot, so he's going to move in. Helots galore. And then it's finally my turn. So you can see that not much damage is done. In fact, no kills whatsoever. And that's Varuna, right? They are defensive. If I personally was to play Varuna, I would usually play cutter lists, but if I wasn't running the cutter, I would run the Bulleteer and or the Drop Trooper in addition to the normal Helots and Jammers. And I don't think I'd even go all out on them either. I might put an Orc Trooper in the main team and maybe just go for 1 or 2 Helots, 1 or 2 Jammers, rather than overdoing it, just because if you're too reliant on it, if your opponent's got a really good tool for dealing them, like one Dakini attack bot with HMG and SOF to back them up, it's just going to systematically take them all out, and then you're left with very little. Anyway, Yojimbo's able to drive forward under the cover of this billboard and cannot be seen by the Kamau sniper, so he just races up there with Impetuous. And McMurray coming around the side here as well. And for some reason, the Kamau is too far back, and all of the stuff in the way, like the bridge and the lip of the building, are actually blocking line of sight to him, so he's actually okay here. So McMurray's moving through initially with martial arts, because that grants some stealth, till he gets to the point which is right underneath the building where the Fusiliers are and this camo marker is. So pictured right now, I'm demonstrating where I'm using super jump to, and note that I've got a silhouette here for McMurray. So cylindrical silhouette, that's where he is, and he's super jumping to this point, and then allowing himself to drop back down. The point of doing this, and you can sort of see there is a silhouette marker replacing the model there, just because I wanted to show you, show my opponent what was going on. So the Kamau's model is replaced with this silhouette marker, and there's also this guy here. So as I jump up, the Kamau gets to delay because he's got 6th level 2, but the markers have to respond here, so they're going to attempt to jam. So we now reveal a Zulu Cobra with jammer here, and there's another one on ground level that attempts it as well. So 2 jammers going against McMurray. That's fine for me because I know that I'm breaking them out of marker state, and that's going to be important later. The Kamau can now dodge. What I could do is reset, but instead I decided to try and fire the chain rifle in such a way that it would go in this direction, and facing down onto the building top should hit the top of this base. Now, my opponent wasn't really sold on that, so I had to try and argue for the TO and explain what was going on. Mind you, here are the positions of the 2 jammers that we just talked about being revealed as McMurray's falling back down beyond the cliff. So here he is here. That's his end location, and I'm bringing over my chain rifle just to try and show what was going on. But the thinking is that if you angle the template downward, it's the photo is really bad, but if you have the top of the template going from here to here, and the bottom of the template going on an angle, in which case it cuts through the building, a bit of it's actually going to slice onto this guy's base. Now, unfortunately, I wasn't able to convince the tournament organizer that that was possible, so I didn't get that ruling, so opted to just blast the template into, I think, the Kamau, and failed to kill the Kamau, didn't get the jammer either. So McMurray's just stranded there and is isolated, unfortunately. So unfortunately, nothing much done, but at least we have found out where the jammers are. This is enabling me to move in with my Krakot Renegade now, who has a Red Fury. So the Red Fury coming around, and the plan is to avoid the jammers, obviously, because he's a veteran, and then come into the building and try and start shooting some of the Fusiliers inside, which is going to be a problem for him. In retaliation, my opponent thinks for a bit and then responds with a flash pulse from a Crocman Forward Observer on this side of the table. So he's just sitting there ready to cut off people coming around this side and later to grab that objective. But since there's a bridge over here at the top, the Krakot's about to move over it and attack his link team. He's tried a desperation flash pulse long range at this Krakot, and unfortunately my Krakot succumbs to that. He can't really shoot back very easily because TO camo, and the flash pulse goes off and stuns him. Initially I thought that the flash pulse may have even immobilized him based on the mission rules, but that's not quite how it works. The flash pulse effect is slightly different from what the stun pistol does. And then, now that that's been revealed, this gives me an opportunity. I've still got orders in my group, so I've got the other Krakot moving forward now. And you can see what's going to happen here. Because he's revealed this guy and not in Marker State, I can now move the Krakot around the side and get into close combat and potentially chain chest mine through here and through here as well. So I'm going to break this guy and this guy out of Marker State, possibly hitting them with chest mine. And the Crocman's going to be a lot of trouble as well. So you can see that the tactical side of this game, really, where Varuna starts to get weaker and weaker as they're starting to reveal things and things are coming out of Marker State, and if they're not being able to use their best tools like their jammers, they start to feel like a reasonable down-to-earth faction again. So bear that in mind, guys. Try and use throwaway troops and veterans and whatever you can to combat their dirty tricks. So in he comes, the Krakot, right into this position here. My opponent, I believe, shoots at me with one of the Helots and dodges with the Crocman, and also dodges with his Zulu Cobra as well. And after some incredible dice rolling, and I must say that this was one point in the game where I get really lucky, the Crocman does dodge, but the Helot dies to the chest mine. He fires into the Krakot, who manages to, tank whatever armor saves he needs to and lives. And the marker over here, the Zulu Cobra, is destroyed as well by the chest mine. So that's 2 kills for the Krakot without actually dying himself, which was unbelievable. So we get this situation here. Helot goes down, the Cobras, so the Crocman's dodged a little bit. And then we've just got this guy here. Moving around with Yojimbo, just placing down a silhouette marker just to see if the Kamau would have a line of sight to him out there, and I'm finding that he would, so we're choosing not to do that with Yojimbo, instead driving back around to the back position. Sometimes you don't have to use Yojimbo. He can be better just hanging it back at home using his crazy koalas to defend and saving him for some sort of retaliation or push in the endgame, because he's so quick to respond and he can locate that point in the battlefield where he needs to move out to. So no regrets with Yojimbo. Still with a few orders left. This post-human here is wounded by the grenade launcher, but he's now going to move out into position. Now that we know, where things are, and with the sniper not being able to get leverage over that side of the battlefield due to stuff in the way, moving out, pressing the button on this console, I believe, and then coming around to the left-hand side of the table. Using stealth here to avoid the jammer. So he's just hanging out right in the extreme left-hand flank. Okay, so going to my opponent here, he's got a Tech B with an irregular order, which is able to actually try and flash pulse my Krakot to stun him. That doesn't work, so Krakot dodges a little bit, but then the Crocman's going to want to activate. Hang on, I missed a shot. We're just going to go back over here, where I believe there's a coordinated order, not sure. Oh, actually, this photo is indicating that the trauma doc actually stands up here and fires the medikit at the Zulu Cobra down here. This Zulu Cobra was made unconscious by McMurray's chain rifle, so he fired one shot at each different target. And that was the reason that I was able to get my post-human around to that objective on that flank without being jammed, is that this guy was currently unconscious. But that's about to change as the trauma doc stands up and fires the medikit at him and miraculously revives him. That doesn't always go well, but she takes the risk and he's actually revived by it, which is extremely annoying for me. But hey, I just had some really good luck with that Krakot, right? So it's fine for him to have some good luck too. I briefly considered bringing the post-human sniper out of hidden deployment to shoot the trauma doc. I could have even fired a stun round to hunt her down. The issue with that is that she can reset, and then the Kamau can blast the post-human, and then the trauma doc just gets back up and does it again. So, yeah, didn't do that, but his Zulu Cobra's alive again. So here's another really pivotal play in the game. The Crocman decides to move to the objective and possibly shooting the Krakot as he does so. And the Krakot declares a dodge. Now, one interesting thing that happened early in the game is that the meta-chemistry roll gave him +3 physical. So he is much better at dodging than usual, and it pays off big time because he actually goes for an engage rather than a dodge here and engages the Crocman, which is terrible. Terrible for Varuna at this point, because now Crocman can't pick up the objective and he's in close combat with this maniac here. So that is really bad, if you didn't already know. We have the other Krakot who's hanging out here, previously stunned by a flash pulse, but he's active again. So my opponent taking a risk and moving his Helot around here with Neurocynetics, trying to use the light rocket launcher. Now it's light rocket launcher versus Red Fury, and like we're both hitting on like an 11, so he's taking a risk. But hey, 9 points for 24 points. It's a decent risk to make, and luckily it pays off for him because he wins the roll and kills me. So again, you know, some things are happening to me which are lucky. Some things are happening to me which are unlucky. My Krakot on the flank, extremely lucky so far. And my opponent, the Trauma Doc and this Helot, extremely lucky so far. With McMurray, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. Okay, so my opponent reveals another Crocman initially here, and then moves him around my model, and then around over again as I'm delaying with everybody because I don't want to get shot. So this, unfortunately for me, takes him out of line of sight of the post-human after he does that. Now, we do know that there's a net rod, a boarding shotgun, and a mine around here, but unfortunately for me, the net rod can't respond, the mine can't respond, and this Naga currently does not have line of sight to the boarding shotgun guy here, or whatever he's got, combi rifle. So he's able to fire his combi rifle at McMurray in the back, which is a good way of dealing with him. McMurray's only got 2 wounds, and unluckily fails the saves and dies to this combi rifle, so the Crocman is able to reveal there and get stuff done. There he is, shooting poor old McMurray in the back. Wow, wow. Then what he's able to do, as you can see, I've collected this objective for myself, but he's able to retake it with his Crocman at this point. And then shoot the net rod, destroy that, place down a mine of his own, ready for the retaliatory turn. And elsewhere with his other guy over here, having been revived by the Doctor, he can now try and hit me with a jammer. And this is important because the jammer will go into the post-human, who's currently positioned around here, and hunt it down in the isolated state, which will be hard for me to remove. So I don't want that. But luckily, post-human is Whip 15, is able to shrug that one off and not get jammered. Alright, so Aleph turn 2, Yojimbo moving out just as he did before, but no further. He's just waiting very, very patiently. We also have the post-human, sorry, before this happens, I should be impetuousing with the Krakot in close combat, but anyway, the post-human just picking around the corner here and trying to pick off this Crocman. I believe we've cleared the mine somehow with a dodge somewhere else, but anyway, in fact, I think the plan here was to go after the Crocman with the proxy deliberately. And this seems strange, but I wanted the proxy to die here. I wanted the mine to go off and kill it. Because if it's standing around there, it's a liability for the scenario. If it spends too long on that part of the battlefield, he's going to hunt it down. Whereas if I just die, then that's not going to affect the scenario whatsoever. So moving around here, trying to get the SMG shots onto the Crocman. On the other side, Krakot Renegade goes after him and bashes him with the knife. The double action close combat weapon. And again, we get even luckier here. The close combat weapon, the double action close combat weapon, needs to do exactly 1 wound to him. Not more, not less. If it doesn't do enough wounds, we'll have to keep spending orders trying to kill him. But if it does 2 wounds, I can't hunt him down. So luckily, I do 1 wound on him, and then I'm able to berserk stun pistol him. So the Krakot doing even more than he's already provided for me, killing like a jammer and a Helot and this Crocman, but also hunting down the Crocman to put me on the board with points. Very important. Naga, now, Mine Layer Naga with a boarding shotgun moving to their surprise attack, boarding shotgun onto this guy here. Again, really important to try and do wounds to him that are not using shock, so hopefully hitting him and rendering him unconscious. So here we go, Naga into the Crocman with the boarding shotgun. This is able to render him unconscious, and then I am able to move out with the Naga and fire at him with the stun pistol. My opponent revealed to me at this point in the game that he wasn't aware that you're allowed to hunt down models that are unconscious. And I feel for him really, because anybody who's practiced and studied this scenario will know that that's actually the one thing that makes it easy to actually get specialists and lieutenants sometimes. If it were not for that factor, this mission would be very low scoring and actually hard to do. But my opponent didn't realize that, this was a thing. And you can see how big a difference it is, right, to have Mark Estate specialists with NWI and Dogged who are just going to die and not be hunted down, compared to guys like Crocmen who can go unconscious. And it's also important to balance, your tools so that you're not using too much shock, so you can render them unconscious, and then whip out models that do have stun pistols to complete that. So this puts me in the lead with 2 specialists hunted down after this turn, both Crocmen in fact. He does have 1 point for the console, which I haven't swung back yet. So there you go. Moving the Naga right over here. I'm placing a mine again, so just to help protect this objective, but we've hunted down that Crocman. There's not too much you can do about that. Possibly getting the doctor around and reviving him, but he's out of range of the medjector or the medikit, and no line of sight to it either. So that's a shame for him. Note that I still have my Dazu right next to where that mine is, and I don't want to reveal the Dazu too early because, again, it's a specialist. It can get hunted down. Well, it's hard to hunt it down because it's got NWI, but it's a possibility. So there you go. What's happening now is that my opponent is moving out with, I believe it's a Helot or a Zulu Cobra or something like that over here, just to try and get an angle to attack me and possibly blow up my mine. And doesn't succeed in doing that for whatever reason. I can't quite remember what happened during the turn. So there's the Helot there. He's just setting up, I believe, just to cover this line without actually really shooting anything, I think, is what's going on. And then moving around possibly with this guy and his jammer to get some work done, but not getting much done there either, as far as I recall. This is his last turn, so desperation's setting in. He knows he's behind. My opponent making a play here where he's got the Zulu Cobra on the roof, and what he was trying to do was sort of clear some of the AROs, really. He was trying to move his Helot and his other Zulu Cobra around here to try and take out the Naga. You might have to zoom in for this. Alright. So what he's actually doing is he's jumping down with the Zulu Cobra here, and then he's going to walk across the alleyway, try and get to this position, and hit my lieutenant with the jammer who's there. That's his plan. And he was trying to clear out as many arrows as possible before doing that, and he decided to risk it with just there being a Naga boarding shotgun in the background. But in this order, I'm revealing my post-human sniper to go at him, and my Dazu as well. So knowing that this is his only play left, and it's his last gasp, and if he gets this, he can win, I'm shooting him with everything I've got. Post-human, Naga, Killer Hacker, Combi, the boarding shotgun as well. And this is going to really make it problematic for him, since if he's moving and dodging, it's just not going to work for him. So there we go again there. Naga, which is actually dogged at this point after being shot at by, I think, the Zulu Cobra. I think that was what wounded him earlier. That's what that photo was all about, by the way. But the Dazu able to do the job with the combi rifle. So the initial jump actually doesn't kill him because everything whiffs, but then he tries moving again and gets shot again and killed. Just out of spite, fires his Kamau over at my post-human. Obviously, this is a terrible matchup for the post-human, and the Kamau wins it, removing the post-human from the board. And over here, still going strong with the Dazu, so just hanging out there, and we'll be able to, in my turn, following this, grab a classified objective with a Krakot. And then over here, trying to move in to press the button. But the problem is that he still has a jammer on the other side of the wall. So to get points, I've really only got the 2 points for the specialists, 1 for the classified. I think that takes me to 3, and I think this Dazu does eventually take the objective. I can't quite remember what happened in the game. I think it turned out to be a 4-1, so he must have. So 1 console to me, 2 for having more specialists hunted down, 1 for my classified, and then on my opponent's side, I think he had 1 classified. I can't 100% remember what had happened, but it was a minor victory to Aleph here. Just to reflect on the game a little bit, I got lucky with that Krakot. That was a big deal. But if that Krakot had not done what he'd done, Would I have still won? I think probably yes, because I would have had more specialists hunted down on this side of the table overall. And even if he had taken 2 consoles, I would have had the specialists plus 1 classified, I think, because I could have achieved it or grabbed his, what do you call it, his HVT on the other side of this wall. So I think I would have won without that bit of good luck. But hey, my opponent also did alright to actually jam a McMurray and survive with various things. The Kamau could have easily gone down to McMurray as well. If McMurray had tanked the jammer saves, he could have just jumped up on top of the building and started hacking things, and then spec firing grenades into the building where the Fusiliers were. So, you know, there's a lot that could have gone wrong there for Varuna. My opponent, I think, again, did suffer from not understanding that part of the mission where you can hunt down unconscious models. If he had known that, that may well have influenced his list building and his positioning with his models and his decisions about where to move where and when to move the Crocmen. But I think he was a strong opponent, definitely respect him and hope to play him again in future. But for now, we're in the tournament with a major win and a minor win, going into round 3 after this. So stick around, and that bat rip will be out tomorrow.